In this tutorial, I'll be showing how to recolor the hairstyles that come with the feline avatar. If you're using the PC VRChat version, all of the hairstyles come with the ability to edit multiple different parts of the hairstyle with both hue, saturation, and value controls. If you're using the Quest version of the avatar, it comes with the ability to edit just the hue of the hair color due to the limitations of the Quest. If you'd like to still follow along with this tutorial, I'll be going over how to edit the hairstyles in both Substance Painter and in Krita, which is a free Photoshop alternative. These are the 4 hairstyle options that the avatar comes with. I'm going to be starting with the Undercut Hair, and then we'll move on from there. I'm going to start off with the Substance Painter version of the file. But before we get into it, I just wanted to mention that Adobe has a free 30-day trial located here on their website. Once you open up the Undercut version of the Substance Painter file, it should look a little something like this. If you haven't already, I definitely recommend watching my Substance Painter Basics tutorial, which I'll link up above. I'm also using version 9.0 of Substance Painter, so any version that's 9.0 or higher will work with this file. It should default to the base color channel, but if you're not already, I would recommend recoloring using the base color channel because it will be easiest to see what's going on for your colors. So select this drop down and hit base color if it's not already there. As for the file layout, you'll notice a red layer here at the top. This layer here is going to be the AO shading, so I'd recommend putting all layers below this so you get a little extra shading on your hair. I have 3 options that you can start with for your hair colors. I have this purple version here, a white and black one, and then another white and black one but inverted. So you can choose which one you want to start with. I'm going to start with the purple one. I've also included an HSL filter on each of the folders. So if you want to just easily change the color, you can select this and play with the hue, saturation, and lightness of the hairstyle. If this here isn't getting you to where you want to be, you can open up the folder and we can change the colors individually. I'm going to turn off these 2 end colors so it's easiest to see what's going on. Let's open up the main color folder and scroll down until you see this layer here called base color. You can go ahead and turn all of these layers off here as well if that makes it easier for you. So let's adjust the base color. To do that, select this, and you might need to scroll down until you see this here, which is base color. Select this box, and now you can adjust the color to whatever you'd like. Next up are the hair streaks, and those are these little lines here that look like this. They might be difficult to see, so if you want, you can turn them up or down with this slider here. And we're going to change the color the same way. Select this and select the base color. If you're using a newer version of Substance Painter, you might notice that these here look like spheres. If you want to pick from the old base color that you just picked, I believe you hold shift and then you can select the base color. I'm not 100% sure on that, but if that doesn't work, you can always select the base color from the hair itself. So I'm going to select it here from the layer and then just make it a little bit lighter. Now we have this one here, and I'm just going to use the same color as I did before. Next up is going to be the shadow layer, and that just adds a little bit of shading here on some of the hair pieces. I like to make this color a little bit on the cooler side, so if it's blue, we'll make it even closer to purple here. But this is all personal preference, so you can do whatever you would like. And then lastly is the highlight layer. I'm going to make this one a little bit warmer. And then once you're happy with that, you can collapse the folder and turn on the next folder. Now it looks a little bit crazy because the colors don't match, so let's fix that. Same process. And now the end color 2, I like to make this one the darkest layer. Once you finish picking your colors, you can even go in and adjust it again with the HSL filters if you want it to be slightly different. So let's say you want it to be a little bit more like this, you can use the HSL colors. And then you can also hit restore defaults if it gets a little out of hand. If you want to add another color to your hairstyle, you can do so by duplicating this full folder right here. So right click and select duplicate layers. Now we're going to make a black mask. So to do that, right click again and select add black mask. I'm going to change the base color of this hair just so you can see what I'm about to do. I'm going to make it something bright like red, just so what I'm doing is nice and obvious. So to select additional pieces of hair, select the black mask and go over to this tool here called Polygon Fill. We're going to go and select this right here called Mesh Fill. And now we can select the pieces of hair that we would like to be a different color. Now to edit the colors, it's going to be the same process. I'm going to turn off the end colors again, and you'll see that these are the colors that we selected, or the pieces of hair that we selected. So I'm just going to do this nice and quickly. If you want to make a more natural blend, you can do so by selecting the mask, going over to your paintbrush. You might need to hit this drop down and then select brushes to get the full view of all the brushes. I'm going to use the basic soft brush. So double click that, and you can make your brush a little bigger. If you want to work in symmetry, that button is located right up here. Now we can just slowly blend in these colors. You might want to reduce your stroke opacity too to help with the blending. Once you're happy with it, you can export your textures. To do that, go up to File, and then hit Export Textures. Select this here, and this will bring you to your own computer to where you can select where you would like those files to be saved to. Once you've done that, you can hit Export, and it will save those files to wherever you selected. To see that, you can hit Open Output Directory, and it will bring you to that section. Now let's move on to the Photoshop version of the files. I'm going to be using Krita, which is a free Photoshop alternative, and you can download that right here, but feel free to use whatever 2D software you would like that you're most comfortable using. Once you've opened the file, it should look a little something like this. For Krita, it will open up every single folder, so I'm just going to go ahead and collapse them so it's a little bit easier to see what we're looking at. The first thing I want to go over is this color guide here that I made. These are images of the hairstyle with the UVs laid out here. Each hair strand will have a corresponding piece. So for example, here is a white strand of hair, and you'll notice that this is the white strand of hair up here that corresponds to. You can use this as a guide if you're looking to create a multicolored hairstyle that you want specific pieces to be specific colors. If you don't need this though, feel free to close that color guide. Next up, I've created 3 different options that you can start from. The first option here is a purple version. Next up is a black and white version. So this here is the hair tip, and this is the hair root. So this will be a white tip with black roots. And then the next option is just the inverse of that. So you can pick whichever version you'd like to start with. I'm going to be starting with the purple version up here. The easiest way to change the hair color is using a hue slider. So if you want to try that out, you can go here to this little drop down and select filter layer. I already have it typed in, but if it doesn't show up, you should type in HSL adjustment and this here should show up. To adjust the color, just select this little triangle here and drag it, and it will change the color of your hair. Same thing for the saturation and the lightness. If this doesn't give you the result you're looking for, you can hit cancel and edit the colors individually. So to do that, open up that folder, and there will be 3 additional folders inside: main color, end colors, and end colors 2. I'm going to collapse the 2 end colors, and let's focus on the main color for now. And I'm also going to turn them off so it's easier to see what we're doing. So we're going to select the main color, and now we're going to pick what color we want. So you can select the colors up here. I'm going to go for a blue. Over here is your brush, so make sure that's selected, and you can increase the brush size right up here. Now let's go to the next layer. These are the hair streaks, and I'm going to turn off the rest of the layers so you can see a little bit better what these should look like. They might be a little hard to see, so you can turn the opacity up and down up here, depending on the look that you're going for. So we're going to select a color that's slightly lighter than the color that we had before. And then you can go ahead and color, but before you do, select this right here, and this will lock the opacity of, or it will lock the layer so you don't color outside the lines essentially. So this is very important to do, make sure you lock it here. Same process for hair streaks too, you can even use the same color if you'd like. Lock it and color. Next up are the shadows, and that just adds a little bit of shading to your hairstyle. So we're going to lock it and select a color that's a little bit darker than the first color that we selected. Some of the changes might seem a little bit unnoticeable, but once you finish, it will all come together in the end. So lastly is the highlights color. And like the shadows, these are going to be highlights. So lock, select a lighter color, and fill that in. Now we can turn on the ends color, and you can either make this lighter, darker, or a completely new color, whatever you would like to do. I'm gonna make this a slightly darker version of the first color that I did. So you can open up the folder and select this here, lock it, and I'm actually going to go ahead and use this color picker to color pick right onto this and adjust this to be a little bit darker. The rest of these will be pretty much identical to the main color. You have your hair streaks and highlights and shadows. So same process, just make sure you lock all of those layers. and the last folder will be the ends too. So again, same process. If you'd like to add a second color, you can do so by right-clicking on that folder and selecting Duplicate Layer or Mask. Now we're going to add something called a layer mask. To do so, right-click on that folder that you just created and hit Add, and we're going to add a transparency mask. What this is going to do is make it so we can have two different colors at the same time, while keeping the gradients. So I'm gonna just adjust this color really quickly so it's a little more obvious what is happening. So let's say you want only a certain amount of your hair pieces to be a certain color. You can use your layer mask that you just created, and this is going to be black and white. So black means that there's no color showing, and white is the color showing. So it defaults to a white mask. So we're going to paint in black and hide the pieces of hair that we would like to be blue. If you're not sure what colors you want the hair pieces, or you're not sure where these pieces correlate to, you can open up this color guide and look at what pieces you would like to be which colors. So if you have two colors here, see how there are two orange ones, you should probably keep both of those orange ones the same color, because that's going to be part of the same hair strand. So just keep that in mind when you're choosing your strands. Once you've selected the colors that you would, or the strands that you would like to be a certain color, you can now go ahead and edit the color of that layer. So I'm going to do this very quickly since it's the same process as the one that I just showed. Once you're happy with it, you can save your image. Make sure you turn off this hair UVs layer first before you do so, or else it will show up on your textures. To save it, go up to File, Save As, and then you can save it as either a PNG or a JPEG image. I'm going to go over one more hairstyle, and that's going to be the long hair. The messy hair and side swept hair are both the same process as the undercut hair, so you can follow along for that section of the tutorial if those are the styles that you would like to edit. Like the undercut hair, I'm going to start with the long hair Substance Painter version first. The long hair is slightly different from the other hairstyles in that each strand uses the same texture, if that makes sense. So the texture for this will look something like this. This makes it so the hair is more optimized, and you can also use a lot of base hair colors that you find online. So if you find one that you like, feel free to apply it to this one and it should work. If you want to adjust it yourself though, in here, you can follow along. So I'm going to be in the base color mode here. If you're not already in that, select this drop down and hit base color. There are a couple of different presets that I made. I have this purple version here and a black and white version. So you can choose whichever version you'd like to start with. I'm going to start with this purple version here. So we're gonna open up this folder, and there are a couple of different options. We can either have dark ends or you can have light ends. And then you can also adjust the hue of the hair color. So say you want light ends and you want the hair to be a different color, you can adjust that here. You can also adjust the saturation and the lightness as well. If that doesn't get you to what you're looking for, you can adjust the hair colors individually. So to do so, go to the base color, select that, scroll down until you find this base color here, select that, and now we can choose the base color that we'd like. So it's going to look a little bit strange until we change all of the colors. So let's do the root color next. I'm going to turn off the highlights and the light ends just for now, so it's a little bit easier to see the colors that we're choosing. So for the root color, you can either keep it very dark if you want, or you can make it a lighter color as well. So if you want it to be a similar color to the hair color here, you can do so by selecting this color picker and either color picking from this or from the hair itself. Now we can adjust the color to be either lighter or darker. So say you want light roots. And then you can adjust this color as well. I'm just going to use the same color that we used before by color picking. Now we can go to our end color. This is going to be the same process, so you can choose whatever color you'd like. Let's say we want it to be a little bluer. And I'm going to use the same color for this as well by color picking. Once you're happy with the results, you can go up to File, Export Textures. And this here is going to be where your file saves to. So select this and choose where you'd like your file to be exported to. When you've done that, hit Export, and it will be exported, and you can open up the output directory if you don't remember where you just saved it to. When you open up the Photoshop file, it should look a little something like this. Again, I'm using Krita, but you can use whatever 2D editing software that you're most comfortable in. When you open it up in Krita, all of the folders will be opened up, so I'm just going to go ahead and collapse them so it's a little bit less messy. If you want to easily adjust the color, you can do so by adding a hue slider. To do that, click this little drop down here and select Filter Layer. Type in HSL, I've already done so, and it should pop up with this option here. To adjust the color, you can use this little slider here. And you can also adjust the saturation and the lightness. If this doesn't get you to what you're looking for, you can hit Cancel and adjust the colors individually. To do that, let's open up the folder. And within this folder, you'll see a few different sections. You'll have your base color, root color, end color, and highlight colors. And within this, you'll have two options for your end colors. I have dark ends and light ends as options. So this is dark ends, and these are light ends. Pick which one you would like to use. I'm going to use the light ends color. And then you can toggle the folder off that you're not going to use. Let's start with editing the base color. To do that, select the base color. Up here you can pick which color you would like to use. So I'm going to do a blue. Go over and select your brush, which is located right here in Krita. You can increase your brush size up here. And then go ahead and fill that in. Now let's move on to the root color. Select the root color. And then we're going to lock this layer so you don't color outside of where it already is. So select this here. And now we're going to pick a root color. You can make this whatever you would like. I'm going to go with a slightly darker blue. And now do the same thing and color that in. The end colors will be the same process. Open up the folder if it's closed and then select your end color. Again, make sure you lock this layer and pick a new color. The last layer that we have to edit is the highlights, so select that, lock it, and now make this your lightest color. Once you finish editing, you can go ahead and save this up here with File, Save As, and then you can save this as an image, so either a JPEG, PNG, one of those options, and then import it into Unity. To add your new texture and hairstyle onto your avatar in Unity, you'll need to install VRC Fury, which is located here, and I'll put a link to this in the description below. And you'll also need the Poemi Toon Shader if you're uploading your avatar to PC. For Quest, you can ignore this step. I already have my avatars imported and all of my hairstyles imported, so make sure that you import the Unity packages for those. For the feline avatar, the hairs already come with the avatar, so I have them all right here. They should also come with pre-made textures, so let's do the undercut hair first since it's already on this avatar. Let's open up the undercut hair. And I'll show the PC version for this example, but it will be the same for Quest. So if it's not already on your avatar, you can take this prefab and drag it right onto your avatar in the hierarchy, and it will automatically apply to your avatar as long as you have VRC Fury properly added to your project. So let's open up the PC materials, and you'll notice that this material right here is the one that is applied to your avatar. Let's import a custom texture. Here are my textures here. These aren't the textures that I used in the tutorial. I just exported out some blue ones for this example. So let's grab the undercut hair and add it in. We now need to select our texture and change this to MIP streaming, Kaiser. And I'm going to switch the undercut hair to 1K and leave it at normal quality for the compression, but this is personal preference and you can adjust this to your liking. Once you're done, hit apply. I'm going to select the texture. And this here is where we're going to drag in our new texture. It's not exactly the same for Quest, but it will be very similar. You'll see a location to drag in a texture, drag it in, and you'll see it swapped here in the scene. If you don't, you can go ahead and drag this material onto the hairstyle and you should see it automatically update. Now let's do the side swept hair. We're going to go back to our hair folder here and locate the side swept hair. Again, I'm going to be doing the PC version, but if you're doing Quest, make sure you're using the Quest material. If it's not already on your avatar, grab the prefab, drag it onto your avatar in the hierarchy, and drop it in. This here is our side swept hair material. So I'm going to grab our example texture and drag it in. This is going to be the same process as we just did for the undercut hair. Select MIP streaming, Kaiser, and I'll be changing the undercut hair to 1K, but again, this is personal preference. You can adjust the compression and max size to your liking and hit apply. Now let's select our material, drag in the new one, and like I said before, if you don't see it update in here, you can drag on this material onto your hair and you should see it. Now let's add the long hair. I'm just going to go ahead and delete this one here and add on the long hairstyle. Here's our prefab. We're going to drag it on. You'll see it automatically appear down here. And here's our material. The long hair is going to be the smallest size. We'll be doing this at 256 and leaving it at normal quality. And the last hairstyle is the messy hair. Let's go ahead and add that one on. For this one, I'm going to do 1K. Mip streaming, Kaiser, hit apply. If you're ever not sure what size you should make the texture or what settings you should select, you can always select one of these textures that I imported and copy the settings. And that's it, your hairstyle is ready to be uploaded. All of the color adjusting settings should still work even with your custom texture. Thank you so much for watching, and let me know if you have any questions.